Yeah, good morning. So in the previous video, we had started module 4. So module 4 in DSDV is IO interfacing. Like in the previous video, like in the module 3, so we had seen the embedded system. So how we have the operation of embedded system and the various types of ICs. Okay, IC packages. Along with that, how do we have the actual packaging of the IC, and what are all the real challenges we need to face, like in the IC designing or while designing a circuit, and how those will be solved. So now in module 4, let me start with the topic called as IO interfacing. Like here we have moved out of the IC, like in the module 3. So like we dealt with all the details regarding inside the IC. And with respect to the IO interfacing, now here we are dealing with the details of outside the IC. If we see how input and output devices will be interfaced with the IC or with the embedded system. So because for any system, we need to have this IO interfacing unit attached with it. So without IO interfacing, so without input and output interfacing, no system will be able to interact with the outside world. So this IO interfacing is a very important topic. Okay. So we have this first heading as IO interfacing. So there we have the IO devices and the transducers. So once I say transducer, so these transducers are the devices which will be able to convert the physical signal to electrical signal. So the devices that converts energy from one form of energy to another form. So why? Because like according to the law of conservation of energy, like we know that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. So, but we can have the conversion of energy from one form to another form. So, hence these transducers are nothing but the circuits or the devices which will be able to convert the physical signal into the electrical signal. Okay, so because so what like in the world where we are living, so this whole world is an analog world. Okay, all the things what we see around us is in terms of analog. So whatever signals we encounter in our day-to-day life, all the signals will be in terms of analog only. Okay, so for example, if I take temperature or pressure or say level or velocity or heat. Okay, so all these parameters are physical parameters basically. Okay, uh, so we need to have the conversion of these physical quantities in terms of electrical signal. Okay, so like these signal must be converted to the electrical signals or in terms of digital signals. So why? Because so when dealing with the embedded system, so this embedded system can only take the signals in terms of digital values. Okay, so to process it or to work on it, so we use this embedded system. So because like we know that our embedded system only understands the electrical signal or the signal like in terms of voltage. Okay, so therefore this input transducer basically means that it will be able to convert the physical signals to the electrical signals. Or in broad sense, so these transducers can also be called as the sensors. Okay, and we can have here one more definition for transduction. So the process of converting one form of energy to another form, we call it as transduction. Okay. So we also have input transducers as well as output transducers. So for example, I can take like if at all you want to have the controlling of the temperature of a room. So here the sensor will sense the temperature and the sensor will be able to convert it to the electrical signals or in terms of digital signals. And this digital signal will be given to the embedded system. Okay, or we have a small silicon chip inside the embedded system. Okay, so the electrical signals or the digital signals, right, sensed by the sensor will be given to the embedded system or the electronic chip. So what we have inside the embedded system. So the chip or IC will give the command to the compressor. Okay, like whose main function is to have the controlling of temperature. So the signal like the IC, it will be able to give the command to the compressor So to reduce the temperature. So this command to the compressor, that is the output of the chip, will come out via the output transducer. Okay, and it's also called as actuator. Okay, so why it's called as actuator? Because it actually drives the signal. Okay, hence we can call this as a actuator. I mean to say this output transducer is also called as a actuator. Why? Because it actually drives the signal. Okay, and here we use the DAC as well. Okay, so with the DAC, DAC stands for digital to analog converter. So because the output, so what embedded system will be able to give us, like it is again need to be converted into this digital form to analog form. Okay, so because like it will be going to the analog world or the outside world, and as we know that, so the world so which we are living in is the analog world. Hence, again we need to convert so this digital signal to the analog form. Okay, hence I can go for a use of a DAC. Okay, and we also have some human interface devices so as to have the means of communication between the man and the machine, right, or the computer and the operator. So for that I can go for the use of these buttons, switches, knobs, keypads, mouse, etc. So these buttons, switches, knobs, and keypads and mouse are nothing but the input devices. And similarly, you do find the output devices, namely indicators like LEDs, LCDs, displays, speakers, etc. Okay, right. So once we are clear with the definition of transducer and input transducer, output transducer, and why they are used, and the examples of input devices and output devices, if we go with the next input device called keypad and keyboards. Okay. Uh, so you can see the figure of this 4 into 4 matrix keypad. Okay, so they have these keys are arranged in the matrix form. So you can find here 4 cross 4, I mean 1 2 3 4. So you can have 3 cross 4 matrix. So like where we have here 12 number of keys are there, like which are arranged in the form of a matrix. Okay, so the keys are arranged like in the matrix form. So we have here 12 number of switches, 1 2 3 4 5 6 up to 9 10 11 12 number of switches are being arranged here. So we can find here 4 rows, R1 R2 R3 R4 are the 4 rows, and I can find 3 columns, C1 C2 C3 are the 3 columns. Okay, so if no switch is pressed, okay, like if I assume that if no switch is pressed, it means the column C1, C2, and C3 are being connected to the plus VCC, as you can see here. So via the register R. Okay. So therefore, the C1, C2, and C3 will be pulled high to the plus VCC voltage level. And if any key is pressed, so for example, if I take this key 5 is been pressed, means so the so the row R2, so there is key 5 is on the row R2 and as well as on the column C2. Okay, so if this key 5 is pressed, means row R2 through the column C2 and the switch 5, right? Like this connection will be established. So this C2 column will be pulled low. Okay, and if any column is pulled low, means that indicates that that particular key is being pressed. Okay, and like example taken here to explain is, say if I take this key 5 to be pressed, means so this key 5 is present on the row 2 and the associated column is C2 column, and if so this C2 column is pulled low, means I can sense that this particular key 5 on the row R2 and the column C2 is being pressed. Okay, right? So for this to have the sensing of any key pressed on the keypad, so we first need to scan or sense all the rows one by one. Okay, right? So for the scanning purpose, so as to scan or sense all the rows one by one. So for example, say first I'll be scanning row R1, and after that it will be scanning R2, and after scanning R2, I'll be scanning R3 row, and at last I'll be scanning R4 row. So to scan or sense all these rows one by one, so we can go for the help of a counter. Okay, so this counter will be able to scan R1 row, R2 row, R3 row, and R4 row. So in regular intervals of time. Okay, so once R2 is made low, so once the row R2 is made low. And if any key in the row R2 is pressed, so then at regular, like on the particular column, it will be pulled low. Like as we saw in the example, say this particular key 5 was on the row R2, right? And on the column C2, hence the column C2 was pulled low. Okay. So that particular column will be pulled low, and we can sense that particular key. Okay. Uh, say if two keys are pressed simultaneously. Okay. Like it may happen that the user may press two keys simultaneously, and if any two keys are pressed simultaneously, for example, this switch 4 and switch 5, like that relates to C1 column and C2 column, are pulled low simultaneously. Okay, so for such situations or conditions, the system like, will not be able to consider such readings. Okay, right. So we also have something called as output register. Okay, so we drive the row lines through these output register, and it stores the values at the process, or that is using the register into which it can write the values to be driven on the row lines. And I can have one more register called as input register. So this input register is used to read the values from the column. Okay, so you can drive these rows R1, R2, R3, and R4. So via these output register, and I can have the storing of the values read, okay, in the column, right? So for that reason, I can go for this input register, and this input register is basically used to read the values of the columns, like namely C1, C2, and C3 columns. Okay, so you can explain this keypad and the keyboard like using these two figures. And if you look at the laptop, so for example, so this laptop keyboard. So when compared to this three column and four rows keypad, so the laptop keyboard will be having more number of keys. Okay, so for this the matrix value will be higher, right? So now coming to the knobs and the position encoders. Uh, so like information regarding this, we can have it like this. Like earlier in the keyboard, like in the previous slide, so what we saw was, so we see that the digital information is being sent using the pressing of a key. So now see that these knobs, so for example, if I take a fan regulator, that means I'll be having a knob, okay, like inside which I can have the use of a potentiometer, right, or a pot, okay. So what is a pot basically? A pot or potentiometer is basically a variable register. Okay, so that knob using which I can have the turning of the potentiometer, so as to have the variation in the speeds of the fan. Okay, and also like you have seen this DRB. Okay, so like decade resistance box and decade capacitance box, namely DRB and DCB. So what we use in our labs, like here also, so we can have the change of the resistance values or capacitance values using some knobs. Okay, so when you move the knob means you can have the variable resistance value or the variable capacitance value. Okay, um, yeah. So like here we are seeing some digital knobs as well, right? Like we see in this so-called function generators. Okay, like along with the DRB and DCB, like we have seen this function generators as well, where we have the push buttons. Okay, so once I have the pushing of a button means I can have the increase or decrease in some parameters like say frequency, I can have the variation, or I can have the increase or decrease in the voltage, etc. Okay, so the knobs of push button kind used in the function generators in our labs so as to have the increase or decrease in the frequency or voltage or any other parameter, right? So, okay, like these will be indicating the digital knobs. Okay, so we have a position encoder attached to the knob, and this is an incremental encoder basically. So we have seen these knobs where we have to rotate clockwise so as to have the increase in the things, or like the knobs get rotated anti-clockwise so as to have the decrease in the parameters, say for example, voltage or frequency. Okay, like in this sort of knobs, the final position is not important. Okay, so only the incremental and decremental values are important here. So, but so for such knobs, actually like you don't find any sort of final position. Okay, so what we're interested here, like in these kinds of knob, is to only to have the increase or decrease in the values. Okay, so you can see the figure, you can see a knob here. Okay, so you can see a knob, right? So with the knob, you can have like either the clockwise rotation of the knob, or you can have the anti-clockwise rotation of the knob. Okay, and like uh, along with the along with the knob, so you can also see say two concentric circles being attached. Okay, so we have one like inner one circle is for B and outer circle is for A. Okay, so you can see the knob in the figure, and along with the knob, you have the attachment of the two contract, say the two concentric circles are being attached. Okay, right? So where the inner one is for the B, and the outer one is for the A. Okay. So now if the knob is moved like in the clockwise direction means, so then A will be leading the B circle by 90 degrees. So you can see here. Okay. Like the topic for this particular figure is the incremental encoder. So where the absolute position is not important. So but only we can have the increasing or decreasing of the values like voltage or frequency just by rotating the particular knob either in the clockwise rotation or in the anti-clockwise rotation. Okay, so like how we are able to have the increase or decrease in the parameters, okay, just by rotating the knob is, so for that reason, like we have used here the two concentric circles, right, or an incremental encoder is a linear or rotary electromechanical device that has two output signals A and B, like as shown here. Okay, so which issues the pulses when the device is moved together. Okay, so the A and B signals indicate both the occurrence of the direction of the movement. Okay, and say like if the knob is rotated in the clockwise rotation means, so this A will be leading the B signal by 90 degrees. Okay, so the knob position associated so with the A movement, okay, so when A is moved clockwise, then A will be leading the B by 90 degrees, and you can see this in the waveform as well. Okay, so hence we can see that user is trying to increase the volume or the frequency or any parameter for that matter. Okay, and here, like here you can see the movement to be continuous. Okay, similarly, if the knob is moved anti-clockwise direction, so then the B signal will be leading the A by 90 degrees. Here it is. So where the B signal is leading the A signal by 90 degrees, or I can say that A is lagging B signal. Okay, and they can achieve the decrease in the parameter, like either volume or frequency or voltage, right? Okay. So the waveforms are for our understanding, right? So, but for machine to understand using this particular knob phenomena, okay, so for that I can go for the use of encoding mechanism. Okay, so same figure is being shown in the top view. Okay, so where A is moved clockwise, and the signal that is being generated because of this movement is as shown in the darkened areas. Okay, and this value is compared with the B signal value, and this shows that A will be in the lead position when compared to the B signal. Okay, so you can explain these two figures for the incremental encoder. There we are interested in not the particular, like say, last position or the final position. So, but we are more interested in the having the increase or decrease of some parameter like voltage or frequency, right, etc. So like till now, like we have seen the keypad and the knob, and like as well as the incremental encoder. So next we'll see some analog inputs as well. Okay, analog inputs. So for example, I can have the microphone or accelerometer, and I can have fluid flow sensors and gas detectors. Okay, so the like information regarding these analog inputs. Like if I take this microphone means, so the device like which converts the sound signals into small electrical current that can be called as a microphone. And I can have the use of this microphone like either in mobile phones and cameras as well as in the voice recorders. So this microphone will be able to convert the sound signal into small electrical signals. Uh, And the manner of operation of these microphones will be, so once the sound waves will be hitting the diaphragm, and that particular diaphragm will be able to vibrate so as to move the magnetic coil. Okay, and if a condenser microphone, like in case of condenser microphone, the incoming sound vibrates one plate of a capacitor, and the varying capacitance is converted into the corresponding electrical signal. Thereby, you'll be able to convert the sound variations in terms of small electrical currents. And with respect to the accelerometer, so this accelerometer will be able to measure the vibrations or accelerations of the motion of a structure. And this particular accelerometer will be used in the airbag controllers. And regarding this accelerometer, so this accelerometer is a device that measures the vibrations or accelerations of motions of a structure. So the force caused by the vibrations or a change in the motion, like namely the acceleration, that will be able to cause the mass to squeeze the piezoelectric material. So you can have the use of this piezoelectric material. And if I have the application of some pressure or force, so for such piezoelectric material means output will be able to like the output of this material will be able to like in terms of the voltage. Okay, so once we have the application of force or some pressure is applied on such physiologic materials means these materials will be able to give us the output in terms of voltage. Okay, that is produces an electrical charge that is proportional to the force exerted upon it. So by using these piezoelectric materials, I can have so this accelerometer operation. So next one is the flow sensors, like also called as flow meters. So this flow meter or flow sensor is an electronic device that measures or will control or regulates the flow rate of liquids and gases within the pipes and the tubes. So these flow sensors are able to detect the leakage or some sort of blocks in the pipes or the pipe burst and change in liquid concentration due to some contamination or some pollution. So it can so you can take like the help of these statements and you can explain in brief, in short, the analog inputs, namely the microphone and the accelerometer and fluid flow sensors, as well as gas detectors, which is basically a device that detects the presence of the gases, harmful gases in an area, and often like it is a part of the safety system, okay, as well as a part of safety equipment. Okay, and it is basically used to have the detection of combustible and flammable and toxic gases and as well as the oxygen depletion. Okay, and it is basically widely used in the industries and can be found in the locations such as oil rigs to monitor the manufacturing processes. Okay, like in short or in brief, you can explain the analog inputs, namely the microphone, accelerometer, fluid flow sensors, or the flow meters, and the gas detectors. Okay. So next is the analog to digital converters, and basically you can find here the use of the flash ADC. So this flash ADC is the simplest form of the ADCs, as well as we have one more kind of ADC called as successive approximation ADC. So first, let me start with this flash ADC. Like I think like I'll be continuing this in the next class. So for the present class, so you can analyze the details regarding the starting of the module 4. Module 4 is IO interfacing. So where we have discussed the meaning of IO interfacing and the meaning of the transducer, along with the types of transducer, input transducer and output transducer. So where the input transducers are also called as sensors and the output transducers are also called as the actuators, and the use of ADC and DAC, along with some examples of input devices and the output devices, okay, and their actual architecture, right? So you can practice these things, and I'll be seeing you in the next class. Thank you.